You please state and spell your full name for the record.
Janet Anderson, Janet Andersen.
Thank you. And where do you live?
I live in St. Charles, Idaho,
And where is that?
by Bear Lake.
Where did you live 5 years ago?
I lived in Lyman, Rexburg area.
When you lived in Rexburg, what type of work did you do?
I was the secretary at Central Elementary in Sugar City.
How long did you work in that job?
15 years.
Do you recall working with the Tammy Daybell?
Yes.
Can you recall which years you remember working with her?
She started in 2017 and she died in 2019.
Could you describe for the jury what kind of working interactions did you have with Tammy?
I saw Tammy every day, multiple times a day. She was in the library and I would have to go down, deliver notes to the students or take her books to get checked in. Just different handouts we'd have to hand out. So I'd be in her library 2 or 3 times a day, every day.
Would she have occasion to come to the office where you worked?
Yes, lots of times.
Were there any other duties that you had that you shared with Tammy?
Nope.
Okay. I want you the best you can. Can you tell the jury what your perception was of Tammy, her personality and demeanor, just generally speaking?
She was easy to get along with. She was very quick to get her duties done. She was very efficient, organized. She was easy to talk to, and she didn't ever have anything bad to say to anybody. And she was a friendly person. She's friends to everybody. Everybody loved Tammy.
How often did you have interaction with her? Was it every day?
Every day. Mm-hmm.
And with respect to her attendance at work, do you recall, was she someone who called in sick or missed work?
I don't
Judge, I'm going to
remember her.
object unless there's some additional foundation.
Overruled. You may answer.
I don't remember any days of getting a substitute for her. She just wasn't ever sick. She never had a cough or a sniffle or a limp or anything that I noticed.
Okay. Was Tammy ever one to complain of her health or talk about her health?
No.
At any point in time, let me withdraw that. Thinking back to just the last few weeks before she passed, did you ever notice anything about her and her health?
No, she was very energetic. Like I said, she was the Energizer Bunny. She just was everywhere and got everything done she needed to. And
Would you mind elaborating on that for the jury? When you use the word Energizer Bunny, what do you mean by that?
she just never quit. She was always where she needed to be. She had multiple jobs. She was lunchroom duty. She was computer lab, librarian, recess duty. She was always quick to get to wherever she needed to be. She didn't talk very much, stop and visit very much. And if it was brief, and then she went to where she needed to be.
How did you first learn of her passing?
Mr. Garner called me Saturday morning.
And other than possibly grief, what was your reaction to that news?
I thought, how could this be? I just barely saw her Friday at 3:30, 3:45. She was happy. She was healthy. She was laughing about curtains she'd had to put up in the computer lab so the kids would quit knocking on the door to say hi to her. And it was just really quite a shock. I didn't know how it could happen.
When you talk about this, her stopping or putting up curtains, did you have a specific interaction with her regarding that?
Yeah, she stopped at the office on their way out. Her and Emma stopped at the office and told me about what they were doing in the computer lab to put up the curtains, and they were laughing about it, how it's so funny that the kids had to say hi when they just barely saw her an hour before, but they'd have to knock on the window and say hi to her, and they thought that was really funny. Tammy had quite an interesting sense of humor. I loved it. She was happy most of the time about lots of things.
Thinking about that interaction with the curtains, when did that occur relative to her death?
That was at 3:45 on Friday. And I guess she passed away that night or morning.
So as you recall, you last saw Tammy at 3:45 the night before she passed?
Yes.
When you had this interaction with her about the curtains, did she appear sick at all to you?
Nope.
Did you make any other observations about her health?
She was just normal, healthy all the time.
Did she have any appearance of having had a hard work day, tired, anything like that?
Actually, no. She seemed like she had energy no matter what time of the day it was, morning or evening or whenever I saw her. She just was always on the go.
And then just last question, over the last few months before she passed, did you happen to notice whether or not she'd gained or lost any weight?
I don't think she gained or lost any weight. She looked the same. She walked the same. She was always really fast walking to wherever she had to go. In my office, I would see all the halls. And so I could see people coming and going wherever they went. And they put me in that spot so I could. So I saw Tammy a lot, but she was just always on the go where she needed to be.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no more questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rickson. Cross-examination, Mr. Pryor.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Anderson, do you have a recollection of being interviewed by Officer Mattingly,
Who's that?
one of the police officers who conducted the investigation in this case and interviewed you?
Well, somebody came to the office and made me write down a report, but I don't remember his name.
Okay. And do you remember as part of that report, you mentioned that Tammy Daybell was somebody who kept to herself?
She kept to herself in the way that she got her job done. Like I
Okay.
said, she didn't stop and talk to very many people for very long. So
Okay, so when you say she kept to herself, it was in her, and I don't want to suggest that it was a shy manner, but she kept her personal business to herself. Would that be fair?
well, she never said much personal things to me, so that's probably why.
Yep. In fact, she never said anything about her health to you, did she?
Never.
In fact, the one person that you would identify who would probably be her confidant at the school would be her own daughter, Emma. Would you agree with that?
I don't agree with that.
Okay. Why not?
I think she had lots of friends. She talked to lots of people, and there could have been a time when she would have said something to one of the other staff members.
And despite the fact that she had a tendency to keep to herself, according to you, you're telling me now that she must have talked to other members but you don't really know that, do you?
Objection, argumentative, Your Honor.
Overruled.
You don't know that, do you, ma'am?
I don't.
Okay. But you do know that her daughter worked at the same school with her, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And would you say it's fair to say that her daughter, that they spent a lot of time together when they had downtime at school?
No, I don't think they did.
Okay. Now, on the day that you're describing and the day that the Friday, the last day of school that Tammy was there, do you remember the efforts that were being undertaken by Tammy to prepare for the book fair that day?
Yes,
Okay, and there was a book fair that was scheduled, correct?
correct.
And you would agree with me that that required a lot of moving of books and a lot of hustle and bustle that day, right?
Objection, counsel's testifying, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Was it a significant endeavor to prepare for that book fair?
I think so. I didn't really look at people when they did that, but I probably was.
So when
Yeah.
you're saying that you didn't observe. You didn't actually observe Tammy on that day preparing for this book fair. Is that right?
Actually, the book fair wasn't that day. It was the next week.
Okay.
So there wouldn't have been a lot of quick work. I imagine she got things organized and sort of got ready for it, but I don't
Okay.
think there was a lot of extra work that would have had to be done on that Friday.
But you're not aware of, you didn't have any specific recollection of seeing Tammy doing anything particular in regards to the book fair. Is that right?
No,
Okay. But you don't know one way or the other. You're just speculating. Wouldn't that be fair?
that would be fair. yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Judge. I have nothing else.
All right. Any redirect, Mr. Wixom?
No, Your Honor.
All right, that'll conclude your testimony then, Ms. Anderson. Are we going to anticipate she may be recalled?
The state would excuse her, Judge.
From the bench?
Judge, I don't anticipate calling her either. I would excuse her as well. Thank you.
Okay, you can be excused. Thank you for appearing. State can call its next witness.
State would call Tammy Gee.
Solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, before the witness testifies, let me just inquire now that you've been placed under oath, Ms. Gee. Have you watched any of this trial online or observed any of the trial testimony here in the courtroom or otherwise?
No,
Thank you. Have you talked to anyone else about testimony they've given in this trial?
no.
Okay, thank you. With that then, Ms. Beatty, if you'd like to inquire on direct, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Gee, could you please state your full name and then spell your last?
Yes, my name is Tammy Gee, G like in good, E.
Do you prefer to go by Tammy or Mrs. Gee or Ms. Gee?
You can just call me Tammy.
Okay, that sounds great. Can you tell me where you work?
I work at Central Elementary in Sugar City, Idaho.
How long have you worked there?
I have worked there for this year will be 14 years.
And what is your job title there?
I teach kindergarten.
Have you taught kindergarten the entire time you've worked at the school?
No, actually, I taught third grade for 3 years, and then I have taught kindergarten the rest of my stay there.
And in 2019, were you teaching kindergarten?
Yes, I was.
I want to talk to you about someone named Tammy Daybell. Do
Yes.
you know her or do
Yes.
you know her?
Yes.
How did you know Tammy Daybell?
She was the librarian at our school.
And how long did you and Tammy Daybell work together?
From the time she was hired on until her passing.
And do you know about how many years or months that would be?
I would say that was about 3 years.
Okay. And at some point in time, did you learn that Tammy Daybell had passed away?
Yes.
Okay. I want to talk to you about the very last time that you ever saw Tammy Daybell. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Do you remember when that was?
Yes. It was the day before her passing after school.
Can you tell me about what time you spoke to her during the day?
I spoke to her at about 3:20, between 3:20 and 3:30 is usually when I get back from duty. And I spoke to her then about one of my students.
Do you remember her demeanor during the conversation?
Yes. She was very animated. She was very friendly and kind.
Did you make any observations about what her health was?
I didn't see any health issues. We talked just like I would on a regular day.
How would you describe her energy level?
Great.
And at some point in time the next day, did you receive a phone call?
Actually, our principal texted us all, and yes, we heard it the next morning.
What was your reaction?
I was shocked. I was shocked.
And why were you shocked?
I had just talked to her the day before about one of my students and how we were going to help him. And I didn't see any indication that she was sick.
Okay. I have no further questions for this witness.
All right, thank you, Ms. Beatty. Cross-examination, Mr. Pryor.
Good afternoon, Ms. Gee.
Good afternoon.
Do you recall on that Friday if there were, are you aware of any preparations that were being done to prepare for a book fair the following week?
Not that I know of,
Okay,
not that I remember.
okay. And would you agree that Tammy was a bit of a private person, and in terms of her personal life, she tended to keep to herself?
Not really, but not really. I
Okay.
wouldn't say that.
Judge, I have nothing else.
All right, thank you.
And Your Honor, I have nothing further for this witness and she may be excused from her subpoena.
All right, unless there's any objection from the defense, you may be excused from your subpoena. Thank you for appearing and providing your testimony this afternoon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. State can call its next witness.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would call Pam Peebles.
Or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
All right, before we inquire on direct, I'll just ask the witness, have you observed or watched in any way any of the trial testimony that's taken place in this case?
No.
Okay, have you talked to anyone else about testimony they've given?
No.
Very well, you can inquire on direct, Mr. Wixon.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ma'am, will you please state and spell your full name for the record?
Pamela Peebles, Pamela Peebles.
And ma'am, where is it that you live?
I live in Rigby, Idaho.
And where do you work?
I work at Central Elementary in Sugar City, Idaho.
What do you do there?
I'm a Title I teacher.
What is that?
We help children that are not on grade level in their reading. We just kind of help them to get their reading up to grade level.
How long have you done that?
Probably around 14 or 15 years.
As a Title I teacher, did you have and do you have regular interaction with the library?
Somewhat, if I'm out in the hall or whatever, and I go there to get books frequently.
I want to draw your attention back to 2019. Do you recall working with Tammy Daybell?
Yes.
And the best you can recall, how many years or how long did you work with her?
Probably a couple, 2 to 3 years.
Could you just describe for the jury your day-to-day interactions with Tammy? What would those be?
I would see her around the school every day because she was running around doing her library and computer stuff with the children. So I would interact with her every day, and sometimes she would come in our room, but mostly I was out at recess duty twice a week with her for a half hour each time.
What did recess duty entail?
So we were just out there to ensure the safety of the children. And Tammy would be able to run around with them and interact with them. She knew each child by name, in all of them in the school. She loved the children and they loved her very much. So she would interact with them a lot. And it was a joy to watch her. And she was a good friend as well as a coworker.
As you sit there and reflect back on what you were trying to explain about recess, would you say that's an active, physically active duty?
Judge, I'm going to object at this point. It's becoming leading.
Sustained.
Did you get a chance to watch her during those 30-minute sessions of recess?
Yes.
And specifically, what would she do? What would you observe her to do?
Well, she would engage with the children with their playtime, and she would make sure that they were okay. And she was very involved with the children.
Okay. How did you first learn of Tammy's passing?
One of the teachers that I work under let us know that she had passed away.
And other than perhaps grief, what was your reaction?
Judge, I'm going to object.
Grounds?
Judge, it's argumentative.
Overruled.
What was your reaction when you learned of her death?
Mostly surprise.
Why?
Well, because I was with her on Thursday at recess duty, watching her with the children and speaking with her like we always did. And I saw nothing wrong with her. So I was shocked.
To that point, thinking to your interactions with her day-to-day at work, did you make observations that you had a perception of her health?
Well, I thought she was quite healthy. She had been training for a race.
Judge, I'm going to object at this point. There's been no foundation for that testimony, and
Sustained.
it's a narrative.
Sustained.
Ma'am, did Tammy ever say anything to you about whether or not she was training for a race?
Yes.
Judge,
Go ahead.
When did she say that?
She had said that.
Judge, I'm going to object. It calls for hearsay.
Judge, it goes to her state of her physical well-being under 8033.
Overruled.
When did she tell you that?
She told me that several times, but Thursday we talked about it.
And what specifically did she say about that?
She had told me that she felt like she was in the best health of her life. She had been eating better and losing some weight and training. And she said she felt very good about her health. And we discussed that a little bit.
Based on your observations, was anything about that she was sharing inconsistent, or was that consistent?
It was consistent. She seemed very healthy to me.
Had you personally, just off of observation, noticed whether or not she'd gained or lost any weight in the few months before she passed?
Well, she had lost some, and I was a little jealous of that. So we talked about that a little bit, and she looked good, and she was happy that she felt better and had changed some of her habits and stuff.
Thank you, ma'am. Your Honor, I have no more questions.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Wixom. Cross-examination, Mr. Pryor.
Judge, I don't have any questions.
Very well. That'll conclude your testimony then. Any reason why the witness can't be excused from the subpoena?
We would excuse her, Your Honor.
Very well. Thank you for appearing and testifying. You are excused.
Thank you.